Welcome to the show that has it all. This is the Betfred Super League.
What a game!
Champions, challengers, newcomers, leagues faithful. Hold on tight. This is the Betfred Super League 2024. There's nothing like league.
Yeah. No! Got me here. It took a big chunk out of me. Bleeding. It's bleeding. Oh no, it's bleeding. The thing just ripped my ear off. What do you think?
Welcome to another special edition of Eddie and Stevo, the podcast, coming to you courtesy of the major rugby league sponsors, Betfred, and in the immediate aftermath of the grand final at Old Trafford on Saturday night, where Wigan made history by winning for the second year in a row and thus claiming every trophy available to them this year. They beat Hull KR 9 points to 2, of course, in one of the lowest scoring grand finals, and here to review it with me now is the legendary former St Helens player Paul Sculthorpe, a winner at Old Trafford 3 times, plus 3 Challenge Cup wins and 3 World Club wins. Paul, great to see you here. Thanks very much for being here. So, Wigan and Matty Peet, what a team, what a coach.
Yes, I mean, I think they saved one of their best performances as well for the big dance on Saturday. I thought it was an outstanding performance from Wigan, and defensively, just, you know, I mean, that was their 4th game without conceding a point. So I think you see that the standards of how, you know, Wigan predominantly, you know, focus on defence as well. But I thought it was an exceptional game, and Hull KR played their part. They tried everything, but just couldn't break down this Wigan side. And, you know, I've known Matty Peet for a long time, and, you know, great coach. He's I think his man management, you know, the respect that he's got from the players is, you know, is one of the reasons why Wigan have been so dominant this year.
Inevitably now, of course, the NRL are looking at Matty Peet, but I get the feeling that he is Wigan through and through. He loves the place. He's come right from the bottom straight to the top. I can't see him going to Australia, can you?
No, me neither. And I know he's signed a long-term deal. You know, what that means in today's world, I don't know. I think
well, get a piece of paper and rip it up.
I'm going to say, but no, Matty is Wigan through and through. And I think that's part of, it shows the quality of the guy when you can be, you know, you can be head of youth, and then all, you know, next thing you're the main guy, you know, you're the head coach of the first team. At a club like Wigan, I think shows the respect that they've got for him, because ultimately when he took the head coach's role, to the general public, you know, it was pretty much unknown. But to the players and those in and around, certainly the Wigan club, you know, he's one of the best in the business. And indeed, I've had the pleasure of working with Matty on the England youth programme, and, you know, just a phenomenal coach. But he's just a great person as well, and I think that's the biggest thing. And you know, you speak to Matty and you listen to him on interviews, and it's not just about playing and what happens on the field. It's about in and around the club. It's about the community, and he's really has, you know, with him and Chris Radlinski as well as CEO, you know, really pulled the club together and the town.
I remember talking to Chris Radlinski, and he said when Bevan French signed his long-term deal, the first question he asked Chris was, what's happening to Matt? What are you doing with Matt? Is he staying as well? And that persuaded Bevan French to sign on the dotted line. That says it all. Yeah,
it does. I think it shows the respect for Matty, and, you know, when players like Bevan, who, let's be right, he could sign for anybody now. He's by far and away, you know, the most exciting player in the Super League, and, you know, when he's contemplating a long-term deal, but part of that is based on who his coach is going to be. He clearly enjoys working under Matty Peet, and that, as I say, that's no surprise. You know, he's a very, very humble guy, and looks after his players. And I know there's times over the last few years, you know, either through injury or, you know, personal issues, you know, he's looked after Bevan. So, it pays dividends, and they've really got to. It pains you as a Saints boy,
this is sticking in your throat.
But it's great to see, because they do things right, and they're going to take some beating in the next few years.
They are. I mean, I think St Helens 4 in a row forced Wigan in many ways to say, hey, we can't have this going on down the road from us. We've got to do something here. And boy, they've done something. I mean, we've already said how good they are, and they are. But, 7-time Super League winners. First time any clubs won all 4 trophies available to them in the Super League era, including the World Club Challenge. Bevan French, Lance Todd Trophy winner. And also now the Rob Burrow Trophy winner as man of the match in those 2 finals. Not even you, as a double man of steel, can claim that. They're streets ahead.
Yeah, they've cleaned up, and let's be right. And it does happen. You talk about that period of Saints, 4 in a row, and Wigan were going through their transition period at that time, and I think Saints now, some poor signings for me. And certainly the overseas, but all the stars of that era, your Lomaxes, your Makinsons, your Walmsleys, they're all getting older together. So there's going to be a period where there's big change, and ultimately what comes with that is a drop in performance, which we've seen this year.
But Lee Breeze is coming next year.
Breeze is a big addition.
He's not going to play, I don't think.
No, yeah, it's a shame, because one thing we do need, I think, is an out and out, world class 7. I've said that. I put that in my Betfred column this week. I think it's one major part we've been missing, is somebody to take control of that team and steer them around the field. You look at going back to Wigan. I've followed Harry Smith. He's played with my son at Wigan in the academy, and I've followed Harry, and I think he's just found his niche. He doesn't try overplaying. He's not the quickest of half-backs. He's not one to take on defensive lines, but his niche is controlling the players around him, and probably the best kicking game in Super League.
And I think when Lee was at Wigan, he helped Harry Smith immensely.
Yeah, he really done. I mean, that was Lee's game. Was controlling players around him. It's funny, all the best scrum halves have that quality, don't they? And there's no doubt, Brazy had a massive impact on Harry, and taught him about controlling the game, reading what's in front of him, speaking to other players, and obviously, both blessed with tremendous kicking games. And hopefully, he's going to bring that to Saints next year, because I think it's certainly something we needed, is a bit more attacking flair. It was funny, going back to Bevan French, and I did the press conference on Monday, the pre-grand final press conference with Mark Pearson from Betfred, and interviewed Bevan. And one thing I was curious, to find out is, playing in the halfbacks, how much structure does Matty Peake give him, in regards to, other people's games, or what he's doing, or where he's playing. And he said nothing. He lets me play.
You can tell
when you've got
Look
a player
at the tries
like
that he scored in the semi-final and in the grand final.
He can create something from nothing, but he's also got that freedom to go and play. And I just think sometimes, and you see it with teams and players, they're just structured to death. They don't play what's in front of them. They don't notice things that open up, and because they've never played with that mentality. And I think Brazy could potentially bring that to Saints for next year. And he was an instinctive player. I've grown up with Lee. We've played against each other from we're the same year since under 9s, under 10s, and then obviously our professional careers. And he's a player. I don't think he knows what he's going to do. Never mind, we know what he's going to do. But that's the great thing. He read what was in front of him, and I think if he can bring that element, you need a certain. We always say shape over structure. So you need shape. You need an element of structure, but you also need to play what's in front of you.
And I can see you've got fingers, eyes, toes, legs crossed that Lee Breers does the job. Now look, St Helens on a little bit of a slide this year. Warrington coming good. Salford, Lee, surprise packages. This is fantastic for the game. And Hull Kingston Rovers, we've talked a lot about Wigan already. Hull Kingston Rovers, fantastic as well. Wonderful defence. If they just had not dropped the ball quite so often, if they'd got over the line, who knows what that would have done for their confidence. What a story Hull Kingston Rovers is.
A tremendous story, and not just on the field. I think what they've done off the field, I think Neil Hudgell and Paul Lakin in the backroom staff there, on the board. I think what they've created at the club, the fan base that they've got now, who, it's worth 10 points to a team when you've got that kind of support, and I just think they've grown on it. I talk about that press conference on Monday, and I interviewed Willie Peters, and I said, do you find them a different team now going into a grand final than you did in pre-season in regards to confidence? And he went, mate, they're a different animal. He went, they truly believe now that we're on the verge of winning silverware. He said, I don't think they'd have said the same, during pre-season. I think they've just grown. They've grown in confidence. They've grown with performance, and it speaks for itself. So I think Hull KR going into next year are going to hit the ground running, and they're going to be some force.
They are, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes next year. Well, Wigan were ahead 7-2 at half-time. That drop goal just before the half-time whistle gladdens Stevo's heart, I know. And during the interval, as is always the case at grand finals, you bump into the great and the good of the game. This year was no exception, and the Wigan star, Dennis Betts, was there. Dennis, good to see you. How are you doing? You're the women's coach at Wigan.
I am. And it's fantastic. I love it to pieces, and it's pretty inspiring, man. It's like going back to the start and understanding why people love this game and why people want to play this game. The girls are just amazing. They just want to play. They want to get better, and it's put a real fire in my belly about the coaching element of what I did. I spent a couple of years in not administration roles, but looking at like the director of rugby and trying to run an organisation when I was up at Newcastle. And I've got back on the field, I've started coaching, and the girls are inspiring. They make me better every single day. It's outstanding.
And how is it going? Because I know that York Valkyrie are the Women's Super League champions, and they played St Helens in the grand final. How close are Wigan to getting to a grand final in the very near future?
This is Wigan. We want to be in the grand final. But what we've done this year is we've made ourselves competitive. I've got a really good group. I've got a really young group. And I'm excited for what they can achieve next year. Grand finalists and Challenge Cup finalists, that's what we're aiming for. It's like that's just part and parcel of being involved in a Wigan club. But we also want to offer opportunities, make the team better, and it's the desire and the ambition of the group is to be where the men are, and that's what I'm there to hopefully support.
How deep is the pond as far as the women's game is concerned in Wigan?
It's an ocean that you could not measure how deep it is, and it's getting better every single year. Like you say, now we're looking at 9-10-year-old girls, 6-7-year-old girls that have opportunities now to play in leagues of their own against girls and advance themselves. It's something that's not happened it's never happened. And now, those pool of girls, I'll give you an example. So it was 9 months ago. I was down coaching Wigan. I've been there about a month or so. Went to an open evening. We offered an opportunity for girls to come down and play on a festival evening. There's 350 girls between the ages of 14 and 16.
Wow.
Wanting to play. I'm not saying that we did a great job with them because the resources were limited, but 350 girls turned up wanting to play rugby league between those ages. It's years and years and years of hard work. How quickly it moves, who knows? We've not got a 10-year or a 20-year or a 5-year plan. It's just a plan to make this team better. When you look at football, their idea was in 10 years' time they might have 20,000-30,000 people watching. You go to the Emirates now, there's 40,000 people watching the Arsenal ladies play. The game is massive. They've won the European Cup. They're going for the World Cup. The women's sport is on a massive growth trajectory, and rugby league can be a big part of that because everybody loves to be part of that game.
It's great to see you. You're looking in prime nick. You could look at the state of him, Steve. He could play. He could still play out there.
I think you're stretching it a little bit there.
No, he's not, Steve. He's not. No, I can run. I look after myself, and like I say, I want to try and live a long time. So those ambitions, the goals change massively. I want to live a long time, so looking after myself. But when you watch the game now, I don't want people running into me. That's the side of it. It's just too hard. Today's game is just so physical.
I agree.
You've just got to agree, and you've got to watch these Warriors, and you've just got to be I'm in such awe of these lads now at this moment in time. It's just, and that's not just from, like you say, where you are, Stevo, when you look at, because you played the game and you saw it. It's just, the game's moved on again. It's just a fantastic spectacle of physical endurance.
And it's super fitness. I always admit to the fact that we thought that we played it hard and it was tough. But I tell you what, the fitness levels now, just incredible.
Incredible indeed.
It was different. I think you've got to look at it and say it was different.
Yeah.
You were exceptional. Well, the team you played in were exceptionally fit. I'm not sure you were, but from what I've seen, and those grey, scratchy kind of TVs things that I've watched you play, Steve. But the game was different, and it's different as now. It's always had its levels, and everybody's always been inspired by people that push themselves to a certain limit. And what we are now is I'm looking at athletes and people that are pushing themselves to a limit that we've got to really appreciate, and it's. I love this game. I love what it is now at this moment in time. I love the way it's going, and I just hope that it's going to turn into things that I've always hoped it would be.
I'm in awe of somebody who has actually seen this fella play, albeit on scratchy black and white television pictures.
I tell you what, he was all right as well. I was quite shocked, yeah.
Really?
Really, yeah, because I'd heard all these stories, but I just thought they were made up. But then when I watched it, I thought, you know what? He was all right, this kid. I say kid in the nicest term possible.
That's the first time in 40 years he's been called a kid.
And he still had the same head of hair he's got now.
Yeah, he did.
Hang on, you haven't said that I was a handsome player as well.
No, that's far from stretching the truth.
I know, you can only go so far. Dennis, very quickly, 7-0 half-time. This will be going out, obviously, way past the final. Who's going to win?
Oh, we're going to win, and they're probably going to win with another couple of tries space. I think they'll just... Yeah, well, it's what people ask me all the time, and they go, "Oh, how do you think we're going to go today?" Like, I'm standing there in a Wigan tie, I've got a Wigan suit on, I've worked with a Wigan team. I think they're going to win. That's just, if I don't think they're going to win, what chance have they got? But this is a special group of players led by a really special group of coaches.
Former Wigan great Dennis Betts there, and he'll have been delighted 40 minutes later, Paul, with the result. Wigan winning yet again, but there was so much grand final pedigree in that Wigan side. I mean, that is another important aspect, isn't it?
It is. It's massive. I think that's one of the biggest, bonuses, advantages of going into a game like that. I think the big game experience, your likes of Liam Farrell and co, who have been there, done it before, know how to handle the situation. And Hull KR, there's a lot of players who haven't.
You'll do them good for next year.
Yeah, it certainly will. It'll stood them in good stead of knowing what to expect, because I always said grand finals are very much, they're like a test match. They're that step up again from a regular Super League game. They're a lot quicker. Obviously, the intensity and the prize at stake, adds to all that. And I think knowing how to handle that without blowing up, and even as much as going down the tunnel and listening to the people singing on the field, and knowing, not overthinking about what's in front of you. I've been asked before, what do you advise for players? I remember Nathan Brown phoning me when Huddersfield made their first one, and he said, would you speak to the players, and what advice would you give them? And for me, it was always, I can only speak from my point of view, was I walked down the tunnel with a smile on my face, I'd look in the crowd, I'd wave to my mates, and I know once that ball's kicked, I'm in game mode, and it is another game. And a lot of players didn't, there was players being sick, and it's like the nerves, but the nervous energy that it absolutely takes out of you as well. So I think that experience is vital.
Tell you one thing I did notice about the grand final, after a year of controversy with head-high shots, penalties, suspensions, red, yellow cards. Very few penalties in the grand final. Very few penalties in the playoff series at all. Now, is that because the referees suddenly realise, as you said before, this is the big dance and let's not ruin it? Or is it because the players become more disciplined? And if so, shouldn't that be the case from minute one, round one to round 27?
Yeah, 100% it should. But what you've got, obviously, don't get away from that. It's the best two teams in the final. I think the players know the way that the games are refereed now and what's at stake. to be disciplined, and the last thing you want to be giving away in grand finals is penalties, is field position. So there will have been a focus on obviously that, but I do think they are refereed different.
Do you think the RFL takes the brakes off the refs?
Yeah, I think so. I think because they know that it's going to be again. I said before about it being like a test match, and I think test matches are refereed that way because it's what's at stake, and the intensity is going to be there. But ultimately, there was a lot of disciplined players out there as well, and unfortunately, we speak about the game and the changes in rules, and some pedantic for me, but we know why it's being done. It's to look after the welfare of the players, and ultimately, the liability of the RFL, because of things that have happened in previous years.
And it's there in black and white, and everyone bought into it before the start of the season. So now, at the end of the season, you don't start bleating about it.
Yeah, and you know what? And it's tough. It's a fine balance, I think, because one thing we can't get away from is we're a gladiatorial sport. It's the thing what makes fans go along to rugby league is to watch them collisions and clashes. We've just got to be more controlled in how we do that, and we've seen some players struggle to adapt, and we've had a few at Saints who continuously getting banned, because they play aggressive, but you've got to curb it, and you've got to improve your techniques within the rules, because it's never ever going backwards. No. It's never ever going back, because how do you say, well, no, head high shots and concussions and head injuries don't matter anymore. You're never going to get that. So, ultimately, players have got to learn to adapt.
Learn the lessons. It emerged pre Old Trafford and pre the grand final that Penrith had pulled the pin on the World Club Challenge, because Penrith, Wigan, Warrington, of course, going to Las Vegas, they cite player welfare Penrith. They say they're not playing the World Club Challenge. Tragic, as far as I'm concerned. But Chris Radlinski has thrown the dice right back at them, hasn't he? He said, we will come to play the World Club Challenge anywhere and at any time. And I've read just recently, maybe at their magic weekend in Brisbane. Now, well done, Wigan, for saying to Australia, we're not having all this.
Yeah.
We're not taking this anymore.
Well, I think we've been controlled by Australia too many times, haven't we, for too long. It's a great game. It's a great occasion. We've seen some fabulous games, and I've had the pleasure of playing in 4 of them. And it's something you want to see. It's the best against the best. And, we've got a good record as well on that. people talk about it's a different time of year, and the Aussies are not match fit, and, Super League teams have had a couple of fixtures. And do they really want to win? Well, I'll tell you how much they want to win, because I remember seeing Darren Lockyer's face when we beat him in 2007. And trust me, he wasn't there to make up numbers. Players of that ilk are not there and don't want to lose. And I'm sure the Penrith players, as much as the Wigan players, want to play in it.
Well, they've never won it. Penrith have never won it. They've had 4 goes and never won it yet.
Yeah, I remember one of their first ones was obviously was against the Bradford Bulls when Stu Fielding run amok, and I'm sure it's something that the players would love a crack at to make up for last year. Obviously, going down to Wigan, but it's a great occasion as well. Australia v Great Britain, and I'd love to see that game happen. I did speak to Rodri Jones, who's the managing director of Rugby League Commercial, about the game. Does it confuse it with obviously both teams being involved in the Las Vegas matches? And he said it does. And then obviously the rest has come out after the grand final on. It's something Penrith don't want to do. But fair play to Rads. He has thrown it back to them and put the ball in their court, and hopefully they'll find a solution, and the game will be played somewhere and when.
Well, fingers crossed for all of that. I mean, 100%. Let's get the World Club Challenge back on the calendar if we can. Okay, we're at the end of the season. We've seen the emergence of Wigan, of course, Hull Kingston Rovers, Leigh, Salford, Warrington again. Where's the challenge coming next year? Who do you see coming out of the pack? Can Hull get from 11th up the table? Because we need Hull and Hull KR to be doing well, don't we? You can't see it.
No, I can't see Hull being anywhere near again. I'm not convinced with some of the signings that they've made. I just think they're way too far behind, and I think there's too many other clubs. You speak of Lee and Salford on top of your so-called big clubs. Wigan, Saints, Leeds, Warrington.
What about Leeds?
I think they're too far behind. Who knows what you're going to get with Leeds? It's every year we see them making big signings, and they just underachieve. You see the odd game where they perform, but just inconsistencies. I don't know. I don't know.
Catalan Dragons. They've fallen off the perch a bit, haven't they?
Yeah, they haven't, and I know they've had a few injuries this year. Had quite a substantial run of injuries, and I know there's been big changes in their playing roster. They made some.
And backroom, Joel Tompkins is going.
Yeah. I seen that yesterday. It's going to be interesting. I think it's great that a lot of clubs. There is a lot of changes because I think you're going to get some fresh faces. We spoke about Saints before with the likes of Brazy, and obviously made some big signings in the outside backs.
Can you see Joel keeping a control of Sam?
I know, what a mad one that is as well. Sam Tompkins putting his name
I think Joel's going to do the juniors. I think, and bring them through. I think.
Yeah. No, I mean.
No, he's going to do defence. He's going to do defences, Joel Tompkins.
Yeah.
That won't involve Sam.
No, Sam's got enough jobs. Sam's got enough jobs at the moment, as well as going back playing. But no, I just think I'm really looking forward to the season, and this year has really thrown it open. The likes of Salford, who I think massive raps to Paul Rowley and what he's done at that.
And
club.
He's going in the back room.
And
he's
I've seen that director of rugby, and what that means I don't know. Because I'm sure
better money and not cause much pressure. I would hope.
I mean, probably more so on signings and what have you. But for me, his skill is his knowledge of the game and how he puts that over to the players. And is that the same role in director of rugby? And then how much does he get involved with whoever does take the charge?
I think he'll get involved, don't you?
Yeah,
I'm sure
I'm sure he'd want to. So yeah, it's an interesting move, but no, I think 25 season we're set for another exciting year.
Indeed, well, we've had a great year, of course, this year 2024, fitting end to a great season last Saturday. The last word on the 2024 Betfred Super League season has to go to the man himself, Fred Doan, Mr. Betfred, and Stevo and I caught up with him after the match. Well, there we are, the end of another grand final, and we have Fred Doan with us, Stevo, the guru, the king, the man who makes this game tick.
Well, not only that, Eddie, everywhere you look in any sporting situation, the name Betfred comes up. The amazing amount of time and money that you put into all the sport, you must be very, very happy.
I don't look at it that way. I just think it's payback time. Sport has been very good to me and my family, and I think you need to put a bit back in there. I've got a great sponsorship team. They're lovely people to work with. And we do darts, we do golf, we do football, we do boxing, etc. This is my number one sport, and I mean that because of the people that represent rugby are fantastic. The fans, the players, the officials. I love the game.
You've said that all along, Fred. You are a lover of this sport, aren't you?
I absolutely love it, and I mean it. I went to the Man of Steel on Tuesday night, and I thought I was very, very touched by some of the stuff that I heard there. It's a working man's game. I'm a working man. All right, I'm a rich working man now, but I come from working class stock, and I still treat myself as a working class man. That's the way it should be.
Well, the one thing that I'm so pleased about is that you're following and helping our sport, because we need it. We're not the most creditable in regard to how much money we can attract, but we thank you very, very much indeed. And I'm overjoyed for one thing. I've won £28.50 because I had a bet on the man of the match.
Good for you. I'm very pleased for you.
Fred, it's lovely to see you, and can I say on behalf of the rugby league community and on behalf of us too, because we do this podcast each and every week during the season if we can, thank you for your support, because it means a lot to a lot of people.
And long may it rain. That's all I can say. Long may it rain. While I'm around, we'll still be doing it.
Hear to that. Fred, it's great to see you. Thank you for your hospitality today. and thank you, as I say, from the bottom of our hearts for all that you do for the game and for us 12 months of the year.
And it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
So there we have it, the end of another Betfred Super League season. And next up it's the internationals against the multi-talented Samoans, and we wish England and Sean Wayne all the best for that. You still involved with the internationals?
No, I'm not. No, I come away from the England setup in 22 after the World Cup. I was contracted till the World Cup. So I'm no longer involved. Just businesses away from the game, and obviously do a bit with rugby league commercial.
So you're keeping your fingers crossed for England against?
Definitely take an interest and speak to Wayne all the time, and Paul Anderson and the guys who obviously are still involved in the programme, and we're looking forward to it. And it's great to see that Samoa have named a real strong side as well. Captained by Jerome Luai, who's obviously a NRL Premier again, and it's going to be great to see. Two match series, and I think it should be some great games.
Well, let's hope for the best as far as England are concerned. But as far as Super League is concerned, we are done and dusted. But don't worry, the new season begins Thursday, February the 13th next year. So until then, from Paul Sculthorpe, thanks for being here, Paul.
Pleasure.
From me, Stevo, and our producer and editor, Mark, thanks for being there throughout this season, and doubtless we'll catch up again soon.